Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Friday, January 19th, if you're joining me for the very first time. First of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. Then we'll go over to RotoWire, talk through all the injuries in play for today's 7-game main slate in total. Initially, there were supposed to be 8 games, but the Golden State game did get postponed once again. Unfortunately, they did lose their assistant coach a couple days ago, so kind of unfortunate there. So, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and then obviously everyone on that Golden State Warriors team just in general. And then after that, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks for today. So it's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we're going to start off at the point guard position, which was our lone miss yesterday in Gary Trent Jr., $4,300, looking for $21.22 out of him. Got to 10.5, so he got about half of what we were looking for out of him. So he was a mess yesterday. He played 30 minutes in the game. He was starting, so we didn't really have too many concerns from that perspective. But mainly scoring the ball, and even then, didn't do a whole heck of a lot of that. And he ended up being 0 for 4 from 3 yesterday. So just really unfortunate there. The only good thing about this is half the field also played him. So we really didn't lose too much ground by playing him whatsoever. Obviously, wish he would have been a little bit better. But really not a guy that killed us overall just because of everybody else playing him at the same time. Then at shooting guard, we went with Colin Sexton, $6,200, looking for at least 31 on him. Got to 45.75, so he was a hit. And then at small forward, we had RJ Barrett, $6,600, looking for at least 33 out of him. He got to exactly 33, so he was a hit as well. At power forward, we went with Lauri Markkanen, $8,300, looking for 41.42 out of him. Got to 48.5, so he was a really good hit as well. And then last but not least, we have Marvin Bagley, $4,000. You needed at least 20 out of him. Got to 46.75, so that was, like 11 times his salary, essentially. So he was one of the better hits, one of the better value plays on yesterday's slate altogether. So we had 4 out of 5 in terms of the hits. Obviously, if you had some other decent plays, you had a really good chance of cashing yesterday. And then on the FanDuel side, at point guard, we went with De'Aaron Fox. He was $9,200, looking for 46 out of him. Looked like a pretty good pace-up spot just in general. Only got to 42.2, so he's a mess. He wasn't a guy that killed you by any means. Obviously, Kevin Huerter did have a pretty big game, so that might have impacted him just a little bit. 8 for 20 shooting from the field, so it could have been a little bit better there. But at the end of the day, he wasn't anybody that killed our lineups. And then at shooting guard, we went with Luke Kennard, $4,800, looking for at least 24 out of him. Got to 25.4, so he was a hit. Then at small forward, we had RJ Barrett, $6,800. We were looking for at least 34 out of him. You got to 32.8. So technically, he was a miss. I almost gave this one a push. Obviously, if he got to like 33 on FanDuel, I probably would have given it a push. He was 6 for 16 shooting from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. So, if he makes an extra shot, a couple extra shots, he would have paid off at this price tag. So not anybody that killed our lineups at the same time. Then at power forward, we had Keegan Murray, $6,600, looking for at least 33 out of him. Got to 45.8. So he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. And then last but not least, Marvin Bagley, once again, $5,000 on FanDuel, so a little bit more expensive over there. Needed at least 25 out of him, got to 48.2, so he was a really good hit over there as well. So overall, it was a pretty solid day on both sides. As long as you had some other decent plays to go alongside the core, you had a really good chance of cashing on yesterday's slate. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's slate overall. So once again, it is a 7-game main slate. We do have 2 games starting right at 7 o'clock Eastern time today. So we have the Philadelphia 76ers, who are without Mo Bamba, Robert Covington, and DeAnthony Melton once again. And then Jaden Springer is also listed as questionable. So no real changes here from what we've seen out of them in recent games. For the Orlando Magic, Gary Harris and Franz Wagner both remain out. So pretty much what we've seen out of the Magic as of late. One guy that is a pretty interesting GPP play on tonight's slate is going to be Markelle Fultz. He has a pretty reasonable price tag on both sites. So if you want to get some exposure to him, definitely does make some sense there. And then we move over to San Antonio Spurs. Sissoko and Victor Wembanyama are both out for tonight's game. So we'll see who ultimately ends up playing at that center position. Zach Collins is technically listed as questionable for tonight, but he's been out for a little while. If he's able to go, he's on probably some type of minutes limit. If he's unable to go, it's probably either going to be Dominic Barlow or Sandro Mamakevishvili getting the start for the San Antonio Spurs tonight. And both of them would look good in that situation, assuming that Collins is ultimately ruled out. Then on the Charlotte Hornets side, we got Mark Williams and Gordon Hayward both out once again. And then we have Bryce McGowan, Brandon Miller, and Nick Richards all listed as questionable. So we'll kind of see who's in and who's out for that Charlotte Hornets team tonight. And then we move over to the Denver Nuggets, who are without Kankar and Strother once again. Then we have Aaron Gordon listed as probable due to shoulder injury. Should be good to go once again tonight. The Boston Celtics appear to be all the way healthy at this point in time. Then we move down to the Phoenix Suns, who are just without Bol and Damon Lee once again, so no real changes there. On the Pelicans side, it's just Matt Ryan, and he's been out for quite some time, so nothing really concerning there for the Pelicans overall. Then we move to the Atlanta Hawks, who are without Guy, Hunter, Krevich, and Wesley Matthews once again, so all four of them have been out for a little while now at this point in time. And then we have Trae Young listed as questionable. He's dealing with an illness. If he's unable to go, obviously DeJounte Murray is going to be a core play overall. He's going to look a lot better. And then obviously Bogdan Bogdanovic would look a lot better as well. There'll be some extra usage to go around for guys like Sadiq Bey and Jalen Johnson at the same time as well. And then we move over to the Miami Heat, who have Jaime Jaquez Jr. listed as doubtful for tonight's game, and then Kevin Love listed as questionable. Both of them did miss their two most recent games, I do believe, off the top of my head. Then we move down to the Pacers. They are the lone team on the back-to-back tonight. We did see T.J. McConnell get the start with Tyrese Haliburton and Andrew Nembhard missing last night. If that's the same case tonight, T.J. McConnell is going to look like an awesome play, but we need some more news on that as the day moves along. You know, Haliburton was listed as questionable yesterday, so there is a chance he plays today. And then the other note for them is Isaiah Jackson did leave last night's game with some type of head injury, so he's probably going to be out today just in general, but we will get that updated injury report later on this afternoon. Then on the Portland Trailblazers side, Moses Brown, Shane Sharp both out once again, and DeAnthony Ayton is listed as probable to play today. He did clear his injury in terms of the knee, but unfortunately, the other day he had trouble getting to the stadium, so he did not ultimately end up playing in that game. Kind of a weird situation. You don't see that one too often. Then we move over to the Brooklyn Nets, who are without Day'Ron Sharpe, Ben Simmons, and Dariq Whitehead all once again. And then Mikal Bridges is listed as probable to play. He's dealing with a shin contusion, so we'll see if anything with him changes throughout the day, but kind of safe to assume that he does play unless, it's really bugging him and shoot around or something like that. And then we move to the Lakers side, who are without Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent once again. LeBron James listed as questionable as per usual, and Anthony Davis listed as probable as per usual, but do expect both to play tonight. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate. As always, I'll be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So I'm going to say just in general, the pricing is tighter on today's slate overall for both sites. So keep that in mind. So if there's a core pick you don't like for whatever reason, pick somebody else in their price tag. You can probably make it work pretty easily. And then obviously a lot of these core picks are going to be subject to change, especially as we do get news throughout the day. So at the point guard position, we're going to start off with Trey Jones. He's been in that starting lineup for the Spurs team as of late. He's been playing decent-sized minutes. He's outperformed this price tag his last 3 games, so not too many concerns here. A decent matchup versus the Charlotte Hornets tonight. Probably a little bit of pace-up spot as well. $5,800, looking for 29 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 30. So he looks like a decent value play at this point in time. Obviously, the upside might be a little capped, but at the same time, looks like a really safe play overall. Then at shooting guard on the opposite end of that game, we're going with Terry Rozier, $7,200. Just too cheap of a price tag now at this point in time. You're looking for at least 36 out of him. He's averaging 42 on the season. Obviously, a lot of that did come without LaMelo Ball in the lineup, but even the last couple games, he's been getting about 40 DraftKings points per game. So if he can do that once again, it's going to look like a really solid play at $7,200. Currently, I'm projected for 38 tonight, but definitely does have a little bit of upside for more as well. And then at small forward, we're going to go with his teammate and Cody Martin. $4,300, looking for 21, 22 out of him, averaging about 19 so far in the season. I do expect Brandon Miller to miss once again tonight with his back injury. If he ultimately ends up playing, this will be a pick that changes throughout the day. But do like Cody Martin quite a bit tonight. If he's out there, if he's playing big minutes in a pace-up spot, he's going to look really good overall. Currently, I'm projected for 23 tonight. Has some upside for more, has some downside for less, but going to be an interesting play overall. And a guy that does save us a little bit of money at the same time. Then at power forward, we're going to another paydown option in Jared Vanderbilt. $3,500, looking for 17, 18 out of him, averaging about 12 so far in the season. He's a guy that I do like just because he's playing more minutes as of late. He's played pretty well in some of these games too. Maybe not the greatest matchup for him personally against the Brooklyn Nets, but at the same time, if the Lakers are going to keep rolling him out there, giving him 20-plus minutes, he does have some pretty decent upside at $3,500. Currently, I'm projected for about 19 tonight, but he could definitely end up with more. Could also end up with less, but that's kind of what you get with the nature of that $3,500 price tag. But a guy that could easily outperform that in a big way in tonight's game overall. And then last but not least, we have Clint Capella at that center position. $5,800, only looking for 29 at him. Currently, I'm projected for 30 to 31 tonight. It's a tougher matchup against Bam Adebayo and the Miami Heat. But, if Clint Capella's out there, if he's getting decent-sized minutes, once again, going to easily outperform this price tag. Just feels like another safe play at this point in time, which kind of all 5 of these guys feel that way. Obviously, Jared Vanderbilt's going to be more of that upside play, but the other 4 guys feel pretty safe for tonight's slate overall. But if you do go with these 5 players, you'll have $23,400 remaining, $7,800 per player. So a lot of room and flexibility to pay out for a stud player if that's something you really want to do. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach with that remaining salary, you can definitely do that as well. But with that being said, we'll get moving over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So we're going to start at the point guard position, $5,700. Jalen Suggs for the Orlando Magic. He's playing a lot of minutes still. Hasn't been doing as much with those minutes as of late, but a guy that can go out there, get multiple steal game, can go out there, get some points, get some rebounds, get some assists. A guy that can contribute in a lot of different categories. He's going against the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. Should be a pretty favorable matchup for him. I did mention Markelle Fultz in that injury section. Don't mind getting to Markelle Fultz on both sides tonight. Heck, if you really want to get to Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz together, I'm not opposed to that at the same time as well. And then obviously you could probably throw Cole Anthony in there as well, just because all 3 of these guys have some pretty good upside. But with Jalen Suggs, $5,700, you're looking for 28, 29. I'm averaging about 25 so far in the season. Currently I'm projected for about that 28, 29 points tonight. Definitely has a little bit of room for upside for more, a little bit of downside for less at the same time as well. Then we move down to Kelly Oubre at shooting guard, $5,600, a guy that is on the opposite end of that game. So once again, there is no DeAnthony Melton tonight. If, the Philadelphia 76ers need some offense out there on the floor, then Kelly Oubre is going to be out there more often than not. If they need some defense, it's probably going to be more Patrick Beverley. So kind of some give and take there, but pretty favorable matchup against the Orlando Magic today. They have struggled against kind of that guard position just in general, point guard, shooting guard, especially guys that can score the ball and kind of stretch the floor. So if Kelly Oubre is out there, if he's knocking down some of these threes, if he can get a steal here and there, going to be a good night for him overall. As long as he's out there, if he's getting the minutes, if they need his scoring, he's going to be a guy that is really useful overall. And at $5,600, looking for 28 out. Currently, I'm projected for 29 tonight. Definitely has some upside for more. Obviously, has some pretty significant downside for less at the same time as well. Then at small forward, we're going to go with Benedict Mathurin, $5,500. Looking for 27, 28 out of him. It's a pace-up spot versus the Portland Trailblazers tonight. Obviously, the Pacers are the fastest team in basketball just in general. So anytime that they're facing a team that also likes to play fast is going to be favorable for them. Obviously, there may or may not be Tyrese Haliburton tonight. There may or may not be Andrew Nembhard. But I do think Benedict Mathurin is going to stick in the starting lineup with no Bruce Brown Jr. out there at this point in time. So $5,500 looks like a really good price tag for him overall. Currently having projected for 30 fantasy points tonight. Then on the opposite end of that game at power forward, we're going to go with Jabari Walker, $5,800 for the Portland Trailblazers. You're looking for 28 fantasy points out of him. He's played really big minutes as of late. So the last 3 games, he's played at least 28 minutes. We'll see whether or not DeAndre Ayton being back changes that at all. But, even if they're going out, even if they're losing to this Pacers team by quite a bit, Jabari Walker might be out there on the court just a little bit more. I think he's a guy that does have some pretty good upside in this game overall. Currently, I'm projected for that 28 fantasy points. Definitely has some room for more. Has some downside for less at the same time as well. He is definitely a pick that could ultimately change throughout the day as well. And then last but not least, we have Nikola Jokic at that center position. He's $11,800. You're looking for 59 out of him. Going against Boston Celtics tonight. Should be a pretty back and forth game. I don't think the Celtics truly have the answer to Nikola Jokic in this game. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis will be on him a lot of the night. Part of the time will be Al Horford too. I think maybe Al Horford's the better matchup against him, but at the same time, Al Horford is getting up there in age too. So definitely do like Nikola Jokic tonight. If Denver's going to hang with Boston, they're probably going to need him to do a lot. Probably going to get a triple-double out of him tonight. Currently have him projected for 60 points. Definitely has some strong upside for more. Has a little bit of downside for less. If you look at kind of some of his recent games, quite hasn't been doing as much from the fantasy perspective, from the DFS perspective, but we know the type of upside that Nikola Jokic can have on any given slate. And if they treat this game like they did that Philadelphia 76ers game where he got monster-sized minutes, he's going to look even better, because I think they gave him like 36, 37 minutes in that game. And that's typically not something he gets. Usually he's closer to that 33, 34 mark. So those couple extra minutes could really put it over the edge, especially in a competitive, almost playoff atmosphere type of game. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $25,800 remaining, just over $6,400 per player. So a little bit of room and flexibility to be had there. Kind of looks a little bit more like a balanced build type of day over on the FanDuel side. But obviously, as we do get some news, as we do get some values throughout the day, that definitely could change kind of the outlook of this slate over on FanDuel as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, January 19th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. And then, as always, I will be posting my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock down in the comments. It will be listed as a pinned comment, so definitely be sure you're looking out for that. If there's any other additional changes after that point in time, I will leave it as a reply to the pinned comment. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just have NBA DFS going on Monday through Friday in terms of the core pick videos. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's 100% of your initial deposit up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% of your initial deposit up to $2,500. So there's definitely some great opportunities to be had out there if you're interested in getting into sports betting or prop betting just in general. And then with that being said, if you have any questions regarding that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.